Beware, you could be one of the thousands of victims of this twisted idea. Apart from taking you off the path of salvation, it will cause anguish and lead to other errors equally as grave. It is a wrong understanding of virtue that can have disastrous consequences. I will explain to you very simply what the true idea of virtue is and how to recognize the twisted, disordered variety. But to do that, I'm going to take you on a journey in time and space. In the 3rd century AD Rome, we see this soldier walk down the streets. His face shows a strong-willed spirit, unstoppable. To understand what this man is capable of, we have to backtrack a few centuries to the year 508 BC. Rome was at war with Clusium. Lars Porsena, king of Clusium, laid siege to the Eternal City. And amidst the chaos, Gaius Murcius Cordus, with the mandate of the Roman Senate, embarked on a dangerous mission to infiltrate the Etruscan camp and eliminate the enemy king. As fate would have it, Porsena's soldiers were enjoying their payday, and 2 figures stood out on a raised platform, one of them the monarch himself. Mucius, blinded by his zeal for battle, mistook the scribe for the king and struck him down, risking his own life, as he would surely be captured. So when he realized his mistake in facing the king, he said, "I am Gaius Mucius, a Roman citizen. I came to kill my enemy, and I stand ready to die as readily as I would take a life. We Romans are brave in the face of adversity, and we suffer bravely when fortune turns against us." He declared that he was but one of 300 young warriors who had volunteered for this very task. A testament to Rome's unwavering spirit. As Porsena gazed upon Murcius' unyielding determination, Murcius uttered words that would echo throughout the centuries. "Watch well, so you may know how cheap the body is to those whose eyes are fixed on great glory." Then Murcius, thrusting his right hand into a blazing fire, holding it steadfast without showing any hint of pain. This act of bravery earned him and his descendants the nickname of Chevla, meaning left-handed, for he had proven that even in the depths of torment, his spirit remained unbroken. Now, Porsena was awestruck by Murcius' valor, dismissing him from the Etruscan camp with a nod, "Go back to Rome." And soon after Murcius left, he sent ambassadors to Rome offering peace, because he knew he couldn't face 300 men who were like Murcius. This gives us a faint idea of what a Roman soldier was like. Now, this 3rd century statue of a Roman indicates that any ordinary Roman had the fiber of Gaius Chevla. Now, imagine what a soldier might have looked like. These men were truly, manly. But by now you must be wondering what this has to do with the twisted idea of virtue. The word virtue comes from the Latin word vir, which means man. So virtue is almost synonymous with manliness. And what, you may ask, is manliness? It is what we saw in Gaius Chevla, that disposition to suffer more, that determination to suffer, that domination of self, that flight of thought with a foot in reality. That is what manliness is. That is what the pagan Gaius had. But before the women object, I would say that even women can be manly in this sense of the word, which is a good thing. Now, manliness is something excellent, even in a pagan. Let us imagine that this Gaius is transported to the 3rd century and is baptized after meeting a saint. Will he lose his manliness? Of course not. Grace doesn't work against nature. Grace perfects it. His manliness would only be enhanced, wouldn't it? And this is where the twist comes in. Many Catholics actually think that to be a faithful Catholic, we must give up our manliness. We must embrace patience. Yes, you heard it right. These misguided Catholics think that patience is the opposite of the virtue of manliness. And to illustrate this point, look at this picture here. Is this a Roman soldier? A Roman of the 3rd century? If you want, you can pause and send me your comments. What if I told you he was a soldier? Well, this is a painting of Saint Sebastian. Now, Saint Sebastian, who lived in 3rd century Rome, was considered the best soldier of the army. He was promoted to commander of the first cohort of the emperors Diocletian and Maximian. What does all this Roman jargon mean? First cohort. They were the elite soldiers, something like commandos, elite troops. And the soldiers were the elite of the people. Unfortunately, we don't have a photograph of Saint Sebastian, but how could anyone imagine a man of his rank to be less manly than the man depicted in this statue? And yet, we see so many Catholics who think that being a saint means being less of a man. And proof of that is this painting here. But this was just the opposite of what Saint Sebastian was. We can imagine him trying to get into the army. They surely must have had a stringent selection. The preparation he went through just to be a soldier, and the ill treatment that the soldiers received from their superiors in pagan Rome must have been much harsher than in today's world, in which the Catholic Church leveled the brutalities inherent to pagan and barbarian cultures, which did not know the sweetness of our Lord Jesus Christ. To get an idea of what it is to be formed as a soldier, I will tell you about a soldier in his period of formation who had to keep his wardrobe, closet, and bed in perfect order during his formation as a soldier. From time to time, they would check in the dormitory. One day, while I was going through a drill, one of the superiors went into the dormitory and messed up the soldier's wardrobe on purpose. And as soon as the drill was finished, they announced that there was going to be an inspection of the dormitory. And each one had to stand in the position of attention beside their wardrobe. And when they got to his wardrobe, the sergeant opened it up and yelled at the soldier for being in a mess. The soldier related later on that he had to keep his calm and could not even defend himself. He had to accept that it was his own fault. And as he recounts this episode many years later, he explained that it was the most important lesson he learned to that day. He learned to keep his calm in adverse situations, something vital during war. From this, we can deduce what Saint Sebastian must have endured to be an outstanding soldier in the emperor's personal guard. But what's more, apart from being a regular army officer, the saint was also a Catholic, an undercover Catholic, and a very stressful situation. He had to be constantly on guard. No easy life here. And yet, so many people think that being virtuous is the exact opposite of this. Many Catholics think that if they embrace virtue, they can escape from the fight. I don't have to defend and stand up for my faith. It's only my belief, and I don't care about doing apostle with others because we shouldn't hurt the feelings and offend their personal beliefs. It is hard for me to say. These are hard truths, but they have an easy solution. It's easy when we want to change and when we accept that we were deceived and desire to come in line with the true Catholic teaching on virtue. Then there is a lot of hope, especially when our hope comes from our Holy Queen, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. But there are many false devotions to Mary that I am afraid that many Catholics fall for. That is why I'm going to leave a link in the description below for you to make your consecration to our Blessed Mother according to the method of St. Louis de Montfort. After you make your consecration, Our Lady will protect you from false teachings and the twisted interpretation of Catholic morals and doctrine. She will find a way to show you the truth clearly, no matter what situation you may be in. She will teach you, either personally, through her angels, or through her ministers here on earth, how to attain true virtue, like that of Saint Sebastian. Saint Sebastian's true virtue led him to use his strategic mind and military tactics to fight against his own evil inclinations, the devil and the world, with all its attractions. And he had many attractions as a highly paid officer in the army. Did you hear how he convinced the twins, Marcus and Marcelian, to stick to their faith in the most difficult of temptations? Yes, the most difficult temptation is from our own instinct of sociability. Their mother, their wives, and their children, and their father were all weeping at the prison doors, asking them to forsake their faith because it would be so cruel to abandon their family. What with the poor children who will become orphans? How did Saint Sebastian save this situation? Learn from this other video what happened next. In that video, I will draw lessons from Saint Sebastian's hidden life, such as how to deal with hate and persecution as a Catholic, especially when the persecution is subtle and psychological, like the case of this family I just spoke of. I will also tell you the real reason Saint Sebastian joined the army. See you in the next video, and Salve Maria.